not Hindu faith system, not Hinduness, not Hindu religion, not any faith of India, but the very character of Hinduness, which I'll explain later on. It is important to survive as a global community that we adopt the Hindu way of life. In the last century, two dominant thoughts wrought havoc on the world community by believing that they are the only right way to follow and killing those who don't follow those paths. And this exclusiveness that only mine is right, others are wrong, which led to the destruction. If you really go to history, the destruction is wrought by people who believe that they are right, everybody else is wrong. So other is the natural catastrophes, the high price we have paid for our so-called development. There have been two competing ideologies of capitalism and communism. They strove to provide material comfort to the society, and in the process, they exploited nature unendingly in a way that today we are literally on the edge. It is such a serious situation that we are sitting on climate change, we are sitting on ecological disasters that have become more frequent and more severe. Both the ideologies believe that only human beings, luxury matters, not the other living beings, not the nature. And Hindus are the people who, in their Shanti mantra or their peace shloka, they don't just talk of the human beings. They talk of two-legged, the four-legged, the plants, the animals, the creatures. They want peace for everybody. That is the lesson that needs to be learned. This failure, exploitation of the individual resources, but only for the material wealth, for the material comfort, but not for the hunger of the soul. That is why it was said that man does not live by bread alone. And that is what Indian philosophy called the spiritual nature of human being, which has hunger for spiritual satisfaction. That is the reason today West has to turn east after realizing that material wealth does not give everything. This failure has led to decay in family system. In fact, nearly destruction of the family system. It has led to annihilation of man-woman relationship. It has led to serious situation where there are more single parents than family parents. We have come to a situation where state takes care of individuals, of the elders, of the society, of the children. As Professor Vaidyanathan pithily put it, the West has nationalized the families and privatized the business. If you talk in terms of communism, they have centralized the control of all the resources. In such a situation, naturally, we find that there is no other way but the way of Buddha and way of Hindu. There have been hundreds of peace accords, in fact, by thousands, but none of the peace accords have brought peace. It has not brought peace because peace requires understanding the other can be right. Other can also live. Other has a way of life and thinking which may be as good as yours. So this urge, this allowance for others to have their own way, to live in their own way in a peaceful manner, without much of advantage that people want to take off, we can only achieve peace with those means. This is what we call the Hindu way of life. Expansionism, colonialism by different means, what we saw in 18th, 19th century has not gone. Only the means have changed. So unless we give up the hunger to control resources, to control people's mind, will not have peace. What has India, that is Bharat, the longest living civilization, has to offer? One, it has to offer that there is one truth which sages and scholars have gone in different ways. Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, that republic of faith, the republic of culture is what the world requires, not uniformity. It requires harmony, not uniformity. Do we know that only Hindu Dharma has not criminalized LGBT? Do we know that Hindu Dharma has allowance for every kind of diverse, deviating behavior by the human beings and people, and tolerance for new views? We do not know. So that is what we are looking for. We need to treat world as a family, not as a market, to be exploited by the powerful. The latest episode of IPR of the vaccine for COVID shows that we still believe that we have to make money when the world is wallowing in disaster. in sorrow. So we need to have a respect for the family as a global family and work for it. We need a health system which doesn't prescribe prescriptions for the sick, which doesn't offer new drugs for the new sickness, which is prescriptive, not preventive. So we need a holistic view of life that is provided by yoga and Ayurveda, which talks of holistic health, not just body, but also of mind. So it needs to be adopted. Why did India see less mortality in this age of COVID? Because elders were taken care of by the family, because families were taken care of the society. There were many more social organizations who offered help to people in trouble during the COVID times. That is the reason you have seen less deaths, less disaster, less mental issues with the people in India, because the families and the social organizations work together. So this integration of the individual with the family, with the societies, is something that West again needs to relearn and revive its system. Next is that we need to understand that world doesn't have endless resources. Mahatma Gandhi said that we have enough for our needs, but not for our greeds. Jains call it aparigraha. Only take what you require, not accumulate. There is an Upanishad sentence which says tena taktena bhunjita, which means that only take that which you require. Hoarding is not a good thing, and we should not hoard wealth. Once we get over this urge to hoard wealth, we will find that there is no need to exploit nature the way we are doing. There is no need to exploit people. There is no need to control the society by various means. Next is respect nature. Hindus who deify nature, who worship nature, do not do it because it is superstitious. They do it because they value every element that gives them life, that gives them nurturing. So if that is so, then it is better to have this feeling of reverence for the nature, because if we are taking advantage of the nature, then we have to respect it. Unending exploitation need not be there. And that is the reason, another idea of Hinduism or Hindu Dharma that we need to adopt as a global community. We have to follow the idea of karma, which means that you are responsible for act. You cannot act foolishly, you cannot act exploitatively, then expect some supreme being, some almighty God will take care of your sins and correct the world. It will not correct. It is for us, our own karmas, that we follow the karma and see to it that we behave in a manner that will give us good results for the society, for the world. And lastly, our American Hindu brethren need to share this knowledge, need to share these ideas with our American brethren, just as they need to understand the holistic approach to living, the holistic approach to the world. And with this, we can improve even better what American life offers. And that is the way we can see the world prosper and again come back to normal situation where we can live together in a harmonious way. So I would suggest that Hinduness is the way to go. Hinduness is a way that needs to be adopted by Americans, by the world, to have much better and much wonderful world than we had so far. Thank you.
5 to 7 minutes because it's already very late. So, so I've been part of this event, which has been going on for 2 hours now. It's my privilege to be with Dr. Ratan Sharda ji, Vibhuti Jha ji. Before that, Mr. Ved Nanda ji was our guest speaker, so I was with him as well. We heard Zeb, we heard the mayor, Nilesh Oak was also there. So it was a great event so far. When I started this event, I was told to prepare a little bit on the ancient India, and because I have written my second book on the India and unbroken civilization, Aryan, Dravidians, and Adivasis or Vanavasis, are they divided or unified? So it came in 2019. So I thought I'll cover that, but I think most of the things, most of the speakers have covered. So I want to be a little bit more contemporary and taking some of the cue from Vibhuti Jha ji, where he left, which is Afghanistan, and how the Indian American citizens should, be enforcing their ways, being part of the political system. I'm also working on my fifth book, which I will just talk in a bit because it's a very interesting topic which I'm covering. So most of the time when we talk about America, Indian Americans, we miss a point that America is not a civilization. America is a nation, whereas India is a civilization. So there is a huge difference when you try to make people understand. Second, America is run by the business people. They have been always very progressing. That's why it's called a land of opportunities. Because after Second World War, when they were reluctantly pulled into it, since then they have never looked back from all the revolution, making economical gain in every field, science and technology. They have done a lot. A lot of things have been given to the world, and as an Indian American, I feel proud to be part of that system, and very proud of the American Constitution and all those things. But again, as I said, America is ruled by the business people. In America, if somebody has to demolish a church, it's just a business reason why they will demolish or sell the church. Whereas in India, everything is ancient. We even keep our grandparents, old grandparents' stuff as a souvenir or something which we really revert to. We respect that. There is a whole difference in way of thinking between India and an American. I probably that's where our policymakers cannot connect with the American psyche. If you there is a Netflix series, Madam Secretary. It gives you the insight. It's a very Hollywood type, but still gives you the insight of how a typical American MEA works, the official level, what kind of respect or what kind of understanding. So it's all business driven. It's all business driven, Vibhuti ji. So even regarding the Taliban, America has to think in that way, right or wrong. That's a different discussion. Taliban. Taliban was only defeat. Talibans to me are no one but the sons of Duryodhan, and because of the Gandhar and Shakuni Mama. So only time Shakuni or the Gandhar Naresh was defeated, it was by Krishna, not even the Russians, not even the Americans. So it's us who will eventually capture Taliban. And again, you don't have to always shed blood. There has to be a mind game. There has to be a cultural influence which could be used. How that's up to the policymaker. So very interesting thing. This 15th of August, 15th of August, we are celebrating Amrit Mahotsav in India, right? Which is 75th year of our Indian independence. It's a great time. I was wondering what happens after 25 years, 2047. And that's what's the topic of my book is, which is India America at war in 2047. Is it a paradox? Is it a prophecy, or is it a possibility? Now, war doesn't mean you have to actually fight. War could be anything. Two democracies, the ideas will clash, which we already see. And who knows, with Miss Kamala Harris coming into the White House as a vice president, even though she's not 100% Indian American in that way. But tomorrow you will have somebody in the White House who is an Indian American. That's a 100% possibility in next 25 years. So 2047, a lot of things will happen. So yes, we are the land that has given yoga to the world. Yoga means inclusiveness. Sanatan means inclusiveness. And the problem is when we try to make people understand, which is very market driven, business driven, from a self-conscious to merging with the larger universe conscious, which is the yoga, which is the union. That probably we do not have enough leaders of that stature to make these type of analogy and understanding. There's a huge difference. The scale is you talk about linear time, we talk about circular time, so there is a lot of difference. Now there is still a middle path. There is still a way where these two democracies can come together, and there is a lot of help, a lot of I would say, during the colonial time, when Mahatma Gandhi started his Dandi March, famous Dandi March, there was one American photographer from New York. He flew, Webb Miller, and nobody covered it. It was he who covered it, right? So we always had that kind of a relationship with America. America was always against anti-imperialism, but because the political class of America was so much sold by the Churchill guy, because Churchill was a larger than life image in America. Even in American politics today, we quote Churchill. All the politicians, whether it's a Republican or Democrat, they will be quoting Churchill as if, because Churchill for them is larger than life. And Churchill was a big racist. That has been proven by 20, 30 such anecdotal examples, including what he said about Gandhi, who was revered by everybody, including our own Martin Luther King here. So the institution written by the English-driven few business class here is so institutionalized that it's very hard to get into that and make them understand. When you just, without understanding the psyche, people of Indian American origin, they think that why yoga, why Sanatan Dharma, why our such a great look towards the world is not being accepted here. Probably we have to get inside the psyche to make these things understand. Probably time will, in few years it will happen, and that's where I'm saying in 2047 there's a massive Samudra Manthan is going to happen, and it will be definitely driven by a White House run by the Indian American. And in the end, what I will say is, unlike the other community, and with due respect to everybody, the Black Americans, the Spanish Americans here, we have never fought for Brown Life Matters, because for us, inclusiveness matters. Whole world is our family, right? That's our strength. Probably Americans will understand this, when more clashes is going to happen, and we already see the way America is. I think if you do research in 1800, I think 50s or something, America was on the verge of being split into red state and blue state. Similar situation has arrived where so much polarization, and I live in a red state, and I love this because as a Hindu, a proud Hindu, I'm very conservative. I value the family life. I have all kinds of respect. So unless and until our generation understand that psyche of America and tries to make that kind of a tie-up, it's very hard for them to understand, because as I said, your time concept is circular. You have manvantras, you have yugas, whereas here time is linear. How can you make people understand that? There's a huge difference. So with that, thank you very much for listening to me. Sandeep Devji, namaskar, welcome. And I'm done for today. Thank you.
Greetings to everybody. My time is 10 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. But it is really pleasure to see you, Dr. Shardaji. Pleasure to see you live for the first time for me. Thank you. And, we are in different parts of the world. Trust, I had heard in India about Saturday night fever, but trust Aditya to create a Friday night fever. So here in New York, nearing past 11 o'clock, we are talking about how to improve Indo-US relationships. Now, I'm not going to share with you something that academic research that I have done, or I'm not going to propound any theory, but I'm a realist. I work on the ground. And when I came here in 1991, April, I will leave it to your imagination to believe where you were in 1991, April. I was here to market, proposition, and encourage Indo-US investments as part of the India's liberalization program, which was launched in 1991. Fast forward, it is only after coming here that I became a better Hindu, a better Indian, and a better human being. Because I realized the goodness of our faith, goodness of our belief systems, which was so much relevant to the American context. So we have been, India and the United States have been called natural partners, strategic allies, but I call them part-time lovers. I do say that with a deliberate intent, because the commonality of purpose between the two countries that exists doesn't exist anywhere. I was part of my large American institution that I represented here as a country head. We had a diversity team in 1991. I was part of the team. And my message to them was, come and spend some time in India. You will learn the true meaning of diversity. It's not only talking about or doing something about it, we are living it. We are living examples of how in diversity, the country prospers. It is a truly remarkable story of life between India and the US. And I have been trying to bridge that gap for a very long time, and rather successfully. I'm very proud to say that. But there are responsibilities lies on both ends. There was a fabulous session on responsibilities, which Aditya hosted earlier on. With every right comes a responsibility. United States and India can lead the world out of darkness because the very nature of our societies, our lifestyle, and our politics. But at this point in time, it's like democracies killing democracies. It's like democracies are hurting democracies. And that is what is sad. The Indian mindset is very simple. As Dr. Shardaji said, we are not pompous claim. We don't make a pompous claim to our historical superiority. We don't. We are talking about the fact that we have as much right to live in this God-given planet as anybody else has. And let's respect that God-created universe that we have, because everything that is here on the planet Earth, if it is creationism, so be it. If it is evolution, so be it. You are free to choose what you believe, pray or don't, live the life that you lead. That's Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is a principle which is very, very significant, is about a very simple fact. It's non-discriminatory between gender, race, caste, creed, or whatever. It is all about the same Mother Earth under whose shadows we live, whose resources we exploit and live with. There is one sun, there is one H2O, there is one air. One has form, other has no form, and other is a malleable form. Go figure. If I'm inspired as God's creation towards these life-saving forces, am I wrong in worshiping and expressing my gratitude to God for giving me or giving us the humanity and air to breathe? Otherwise, none of us will live for a nanosecond. Or the water, which 70% of our body is water, and the sun's energy, which sustains us. In everything is about energy, isn't it? So the point which I'm trying to drive here in this conversation is my conversation with the senator here. And given that some of the eminent politicians are here, and everybody who is here must listen to this with serious intent. This senator told me that we love you Indians as immigrants to this country. You are professionals, you are hardworking, you have family values, you take care of your children. You are least problem from a law and order perspective other than occasional white collar crime. You are in the highest median income. You take care of your children and you ask for nothing. That was a very vital statement. And you ask for nothing. There was tremendous appreciation for what Indians were doing in this country. But I wondered at that time, do you respect us for what we do or not? Because appreciation and respect, they're two different things. I appreciate somebody helping me, but did I respect that person for doing what we do? And that's the important part, that Indian community in this country can contribute to America. It's time for us, and I take the responsibility of saying so. And I'm asking today, with Republicans and Democrats alike, to engage with us, and as much as it is on us to engage with them. Because unless and until we engage, things don't happen. We are just about 3 million people in this country. We don't matter in presidential election unless and until it's a battleground state. But we matter in the communities that we live in. And that's what is important. I implore upon every Indian here to become politically aware, get engaged in the communities that you live in, contest elections, fight for your rights, and assert yourself. Swami Vivekananda ji had said a remarkably profound statement in about to Hindus. He had said, arise, awaken, and assert yourself. To which I added the fourth one, which was a borrowed idea from Bhagavad Gita, is also act. You know, it's not enough to arise, awaken, and assert, but you got to act. We saw two examples of that in this country today. That America has one thing which I'm very proud of. This country wants to learn. There's, apart from the extreme points of view which exist everywhere, but this is one thing which I have in my interaction with the working class people or governing class people or anybody, is a simple desire to learn. I have had conversations, very intense conversations, with hardcore Baptists in the what do you call the red states in the Midwest, about why Hindus don't take beef, why do we worship so many gods. But when I explained to them the rationale and the logic of why we do what we do, they had one thing to say. Why the hell don't you tell us about yourself? It's such a fascinating idea. If you don't, so I said, this is our failing as Hindus. We don't proselytize the way you proselytize about Christianity. We are quiet people. We leave it to each individual to learn from his own life. Believe it or not, this incident happened with me about beef, about many gods to worship, and varieties of things. A year and a half ago, a year and a half prior to COVID lockdown. And there we are, that friend of mine still calls me, why don't you tell two of my friends why you Hindus don't take beef, because it makes so much sense. Now, today is not the time for me to share that. But what I wanted to say is we have to get engaged. And this is what is important for American political leadership, to recognize that Indians are one of the most likable guys for America. Believe it or not, Hindus and Indians love American people. At the people-to-people level, there is a tremendous amount of respect, but there is also a bewilderment. And that bewilderment runs into one very important political dimension, which I would respectfully submit to the political elite here. Please do pay attention to that. If America tells India who we have to be friends with, it's also incumbent upon America, us Americans, I'm an American citizen, it's also incumbent upon America to recognize India's concerns. So if America were to tell India, don't be friends with Russia and don't be friends with Iran, I have an equal right as an Indian to tell America that you better mend your relationship, fix your relationship with Pakistan and China. Look at Afghanistan at this point in time. America has walked out of there. There is a school of thought that says once America goes, it never vacates the land, because some form or the other, the military will stay. The point is important here to note. If America were to abandon Afghanistan, it will become part of the Russian Empire that went to Russia, Afghanistan, and entered the same graveyard. The point which I am trying to make here is, by surrendering Afghanistan to Taliban, you are surrendering Afghanistan's natural resources to Pakistan and China. That is absolutely horrendous for India's future. And America must not do anything to jeopardize a democracy as powerful as India, because India is the only country that can withstand the might of many intransigent nations around the world. This is what I want my message to everybody is. And to Indian community, I would like to urge one more time today, get engaged in your local communities, whether it's parents, teachers, meetings, everywhere your footprint and your mind must interact. You have no idea what's going on in school. Today, it's a joke in the world around that America's export is the biggest cultural export is a woke culture. We need to contest that. How evil that entire thing is that American politicians need to pay attention to. You hurt India, you will end up hurting yourselves. And that's no sign of a wise guy. So one of the things that has happened, to the Indian community, and I'm very much actively involved, so I can share with you, is that the constant barrage of attacks against Prime Minister Modi has been reckoned as the most silly thing to happen in this country. I'm saddened to say that many Indians are instigating those moves. Be that as it may, as political leadership, you've got to be wise, smart, and clever. With these words, I would urge that India-US relationship must flourish for the world to survive, because these are the two authentic democracies, and that's where life is all about. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
मैं अपनी मातृभाषा हिंदी में बोलना पसंद करूंगा, क्योंकि मैं सोचता हिंदी में ही हूँ, तो मेरे लिए ये आसान होगा ज्यादा। और सबसे पहले जो अमेरिकन हिंदू इंडियन कम्युनिटी है, उन सबका मैं बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ कि उन्होंने इतना अच्छा आयोजन किया और धर्म को लेकर सोचा। ये बहुत बड़ी बात है। 11 सितंबर 1893 में विवेकानंद जी ने आधुनिक समय में एक शुरुआत की थी और उसको ये कम्युनिटी आगे चला रही है। ये आवाज आ रही है? हाँ, तो उसको ही ये कम्युनिटी आगे ले जा रही है और इसका हम सबको गर्व होना चाहिए। परंतु मैं जो एक बात कहना चाहूंगा वो ये कि भारत और अमेरिका का संबंध पुराना है। भारत और हिंदू धर्म का संबंध 1893 से कहीं ज्यादा पुराना है और इसकी पौराणिकता में जब हम बात करेंगे तो देखेंगे कि ये हमारे पुराणों के समय से जुड़ती है। हम अगर पुराण के पाताल लोक की चर्चा करते हैं तो वो आज का जो दक्षिणी अमेरिका है, वो जो पौराणिक पाताल लोक है वो दक्षिणी अमेरिका ठहरता है। हमारी जो माया सभ्यता जिसको कहा गया है वो मैक्सिको ठहरती है। और इस पर ये नहीं कि भारतीयों ने सिर्फ रिसर्च किया हो। मैं आपको बेली फेस्ट, कॉलमैन, इस तरह के जो बड़े बड़े यूरोप के, अमेरिका के बड़े बड़े विद्वान हैं, वो लिख कर गए हैं कि हम उस हिंदू सभ्यता की ही संतान हैं। जब ईसाईयत ने पदार्पण किया अमेरिका में, और आप सबको हिस्ट्री पता होगा, रेड इंडियंस से पहले वो कौन, रेड इंडियंस क्यों था? इंडियन शब्द कहां से आया, क्यों आया? ईसाईयत ने जब मूल निवासियों को, आप देखिएगा कि अमेरिका सही में जो आदित्य जी कह रहे थे कॉर्पोरेशन की तरह है, वो कहाँ गए मूल निवासी, वो कौन लोग थे, उस पर कहीं अब चर्चा नहीं होती। और इसके पौराणिक पूरे संदर्भ आते हैं। हम लोगों को एक चीज समझाया गया और मैं इस पे लगातार रिसर्च कर रहा हूं और मैं लोगों को दूंगा। और मैं क्या कर रहा हूं, सारे विद्वान करके गए हैं, मैं आज के संदर्भ में उसको बता रहा हूं कि जो यहां से माइग्रेशन हुआ, भारत से माइग्रेशन हुआ, भारत को यह समझा दिया गया कि बाहर से भारत में माइग्रेट हुआ, जबकि सच यह है कि भारत से माइग्रेशन हुआ और इक्ष्वाकुओं का माइग्रेशन है, महाभारत के बाद का माइग्रेशन है और बड़े पैमाने पर हुआ, जो सब जगह बसते चले गए। और जो हमारा कैस्पियन सागर जिसको हम लोग आप कहते हैं, वो ऋषि कश्यप से ये पूरा संदर्भ आता है। ऋषि कश्यप से उस कैस्पियन सागर का नाम पड़ा है। मैं कुछ लोगों को कोट करना चाहूंगा इसमें कि यूरोप के एक बहुत बड़े विद्वान हुए हैं कॉलमैन, उन्होंने लिखा है कि महान यात्री और वैज्ञानिक बैरन हैम्बोल्ड अमेरिका में अभी भी हिंदू अवशेषों को देखते हैं, उसकी चर्चा करते हैं। पेरू के बारे में कहा जाता है कि उनके जो पूर्वज हैं वो भारतीय जन थे और इस दृष्टि से वो एक लगते हैं। उसके बाद श्री हार्डी हैं, अमेरिका के वास्तुकला का वो वर्णन करते हैं और कहते हैं कि मध्य अमेरिका के चिचेन नामक स्थान के प्राचीन विशाल भवनों की भारत के स्तूपों से एक आश्चर्यजनक समानता है। डॉक्टर स्कुअर हैं, वो कहते हैं कि जैसे हमें एशियाटिक सोसाइटी के विद्वान और अन्य लेखकों ने हिंदू धर्म और पुरावशेषों के संबंध में बताया है, दक्षिण भारत और भारतीय द्वीप समूह के बौद्ध मंदिरों और मध्य अमेरिका के भवनों में एक आवश्यक और अत्यधिक समानता हमें देखने को मिलता है। डॉक्टर जर्फू का बयान है, हम आर्य समूह के उल्लेखनीय मंदिर, किले, घाटी पर बने पुल, नहर, नालियां अमेरिका में पाते हैं। तो और ये जो मैं आपको कोट कर रहा हूं, ये 1901-2 में लिखी गई, वो आज नहीं लिखी गई कि 14 के बाद नरेंद्र मोदी जी आए हैं तो उसके लिए हिंदू हिंदू हो रहा है, जो लोग आरोप लगाते हैं, ऐसी बात नहीं है। ये मैं आपको कोट कर रहा हूं 1901-2 तब की बात मैं कोट कर रहा हूँ, वो पुस्तक भी कोट कर रहा हूँ, मैं 1906 की पुस्तक कोट कर रहा हूँ। इसमें बहुत सारी समानताएं जो है हिंदू धर्म और अमेरिका में, और इसीलिए जब हम पुराण, क्योंकि पश्चिम ने जब देखा कि पुराणों में इनका बहुत समृद्ध इतिहास है, वो इतिहास जो पूरी दुनिया से कनेक्ट करता है, तो उसको माइथोलॉजी शब्द के जरिए उसको डाइल्यूट किया गया, और उन्हीं की प्रेरणा से कहिए या उन्हीं के रास्ते पे चलते हुए कहिए कि हमारे भी कुछ लोगों ने उसको डाइल्यूट किया, डाइल्यूट वर्जन किया, और जिसके कारण हम उस इतिहास को, इक्ष्वाकुओं के पूरे इतिहास को, सूर्यवंश के पूरे इतिहास को, चंद्रवंश के पूरे इतिहास को, उन सबको हमने गौण कर दिया। और जो वृक्ष की शाखाएं थी, आप देखिए, अगर मेरे बाप दादाओं के नाम मिलते हैं तो मेरा वजूद है, मेरा अस्तित्व है, लेकिन जो नाम मिलने के बावजूद हमने उसके अस्तित्व को नकारा, और रेडिजेंस जो थे उनको समाप्त करने के बाद जो नई कहते हैं कि दुनिया की सबसे प्राचीन सभ्यता, प्राचीन लोकतंत्र अमेरिका, हमारे यहाँ के प्राइम मिनिस्टर भी कोट कर जाते हैं, जबकि वो सब भूलते हैं कि आप अगर कृष्ण का राज्य देखेंगे, द्वारका, वो एक गणतंत्र था, कृष्ण गद्दी पर नहीं बैठते थे, बलराम गद्दी पर नहीं बैठते थे। तो हमारे यहाँ वो पौराणिक पुरानी सभ्यता रही है, लेकिन चूंकि वो जो यूरोप का आक्रमण हुआ, उसने एक ऐसा थ्योरी गढ़ दिया कि 200 साल, बताया कि अमेरिका तो 200 साल से ही, जबकि अमेरिका का सदियों पुराने इतिहास को खरोच के हटा दिया गया, और चूंकि मूल निवासी बचे नहीं, उनको अपनी उस सभ्यता संस्कृति से, वो जो हिंदू कल्चर का था, वो कहने वाला कोई है नहीं। तो अभी जो अमेरिका दिख रहा है वो वही यूरोपियन ईसाई अमेरिका का एक पूरा कल्ट जो है, और इसीलिए 200 साल पुराना अमेरिका कहता है। तो कहाँ था फिर उससे पहले, 200 साल से पहले फिर हम कौन थे वहां पे? आज भी रेड इंडियंस की बात करते हैं। कुछ मैं आपको समानता दिखाऊंगा, जो पौराणिक समानता थी, जिसको ईसाइयत के बाद खरोंच दिया गया। अगर समय है तो मैं कुछ समानताओं की चर्चा कर दूं। आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ संदीप जी, बोलिए।
हाँ, थोड़ी सी मैं कुछ समानता की, क्योंकि आपको अच्छा लगेगा कि भारत और अमेरिका एक कल्चर से थे। और अगर आप देखेंगे कि हमारे यहाँ कहा जाता है कि शेष नाग पर विष्णु जी जो है सागर में, क्षीर सागर में विराजमान होते हैं, वो प्रशांत महासागर है। पूरा पुराण भी ये बता रहा है, लेकिन हमने उसको खरोच दिया है। वो प्रशांत महासागर है, जहां अमेरिका जहां लग रहा है। अब आपको मैं इसमें बताऊं, कुछ मैं समानताएं आपको दिखाने की कोशिश करता हूं। मैक्सिको के लोग एक चित्र की पूजा करते थे, जिसमें मनुष्य के धड़ पर हाथी का सिर होता, और सर्वविदित है कि हिंदू आज भी इस देवता को गणेश के नाम से पूजते हैं। कितनी समानता है, सिमिलरिटी है। अमेरिका के जो पुजारी होते थे पहले, उनके सर पर सांप लपेटे दिखाया गया। जो पुरानी मूर्तियां देखेंगे ईसाइयत के पहले का, जैसे हिंदुओं में शिव, काली, अन्य देवताओं की जिस तरह से पूजा होती है, पुजारियों के सर पे सांप, वो पुरानी समय में अमेरिका में दिखता था। अमेरिका के जो प्राचीन लोग थे, वो पृथ्वी को एक पौराणिक देवी के रूप में पूजते थे। आज भी हिंदू भारत माता कहते हैं। पृथ्वी जो अथर्ववेद से आता है, वहां से पृथ्वी को माता कहते हैं। अमेरिका के प्राचीन निवासी पृथ्वी को एक माता के रूप में पूजते थे। चट्टानों पर और पत्थरों पर जो भी देवी देवताओं के पहले चिन्ह मिले, और उसकी पूजा अमेरिका में की जाती है। लेकिन जो अब्राह्मिक रिलीजन है, उसने कहा मूर्ति पूजकों का ध्वंस, और आपने देखा वो ईसाइयत हो, वो इस्लाम हो, इन सब ने वो किसकी कौन सी मूर्तियां, कौन लोग थे, किसकी पूजा कर रहे थे? मूर्ति पूजा तो एक ही संस्कृति है, और तो है नहीं। तो वो कौन लोग थे? ये पूरी समानता जो है आपको। और भारत में मैक्सिको के लोगों के लिए कहा जाता है कि वे कोएटल के पद चिन्हों की पूजा किया करते थे। कोएटल के पद चिन्हों की पूजा किया करते थे, जैसे भारतीय बुद्ध के पद चिन्हों की या फिर रामकृष्ण के पद चिन्हों की पूजा करते हैं। प्राचीन अमेरिका में सूर्य और चंद्र ग्रहणों को उसी तरह देखा जाता था जैसे आज आधुनिक भारत में देखा जाता है। हिंदू ड्रम पीटते हैं, टीन के बर्तन और दूसरी चीज को पीट कर शोर मचाते हैं। अमेरिका के लोग भी भयानक रूप से चीखते हैं, संगीत और वाद्य यंत्र का प्रयोग करते हैं जब ग्रहण लगता है, और सोचते हैं कि प्रकाश से घृणा करने वाला राक्षस मलयो चंद्रमा और सूर्य को उसी तरह निगल जाता है जैसे हिंदू सोचते हैं कि राहु चंद्र और सूर्य को ग्रस लेता है। कितनी समानता है, उस सिमिलरिटी पे चर्चा नहीं होती कभी। जबकि यूरोपियन विद्वांस अगर लिख के गए हैं, भारत के आप जो सनातन धर्मशास्त्र है उसको आप इग्नोर कर देते हैं कई बार। और कहते हैं मिथक है, लेकिन जो पश्चिम लिख के गया, रिसर्च करके गए वो लोग, यहाँ के शास्त्रों थे, उनको तो पढ़ा जाए, लेकिन वो इतिहास में विस्मृत कर दिया गया है, हटा दिया गया है। हिंदू जिस प्रकार जल प्रलय की कथा में विश्वास करते हैं, वैसे ही अमेरिका में भी प्रचलित है। आप ईसाई की एडम ईव की जो कहानियां आप देखते हैं और जल प्रलय आता है, वो हमारे यहाँ जब जल प्रलय की जो प्राचीन कहानियां उनसे कितनी साम्यता रखते हैं। अमेरिका विश्वास करता है कि उसके एक संत की आज्ञा से सूर्य स्थिर खड़ा है। भारत तो मानता ही है कि सूर्य स्थिर खड़ा है और पृथ्वी उसकी परिक्रमा लगाती है, और जबकि ईसाईयत और इस्लाम अब्राहमिक रिलीजन मानता रहा कि पृथ्वी स्थिर है, सूर्य उसकी परिक्रमा लगाती है। और जब से आज से 1500-1600 साल पहले जब इसको कहा गया तो उनको सजा दी गई। तो आप सोचिए कि प्राचीन अमेरिका की संस्कृति के साथ, यदि मैं बहुत सारे आपको एक और उदाहरण देता हूं, कछुए की पौराणिक कथा भारत और अमेरिका में समान है। श्री टेलर ने लिखा है कि उत्तरी अमेरिका और भारत में प्रचलित कछुए की पुरा कथा में आश्चर्यजनक की समानता है। वस्तुतः 1.5 सदी पूर्व फादर लाफितान के संज्ञान में ये कहानी आई थी। एशिया की कथाओं की 3 बड़ी विशेषताएं उत्तरी अमेरिका के भारतीयों की कथा में अपने पूर्ण और स्पष्ट विकास के साथ मिलती है। यह पृथ्वी पर एक तैरते हुए विशाल कछुए की पीठ पर टिकी है, जिसको हमने भगवान विष्णु का कच्छप अवतार कहा है। वो अमेरिका की कहानी से मेल खाती है। कछुआ नीचे डूब जाता है और जल प्रलय होता है। कछुआ ही वस्तुतः पृथ्वी है जो अथाह गड्ढे को के ऊपर तैरती है। ये अमेरिका की कथा है, हमारे यहाँ भगवान विष्णु की कथा है। तो पूरी समानता है। हम अमेरिकन इंडियंस को जो वहां है और जो यहाँ इंडियंस हैं, एक उस साम्य को लेकर मैं प्रार्थना करूंगा कि काम करने की आवश्यकता है, ताकि हम दो ना दिखें। लगता है जैसे हिंदू इन्फिल्ट्रेशन कर रहा हो, नहीं, हम एक हैं। हमारी पुरानी जो संस्कृति थी रेड इंडियंस की, अगर उन संस्कृतियों के प्रतीकों को जीवित करने का प्रयास करें अमेरिकन वहां के जो इंडियंस हैं, हिंदू इंडियंस हैं, वो एक गहरी साम्यता लाएगा, एक बड़ी जागृति लाएगा, एक बड़ा उद्देश्य देगा, और वो दिखाएगा कि आपकी जो हमारे आपके पुरखों की जड़ें कहाँ तक थी। हम 1893 से बाहर अमेरिका में हिंदू धर्म मान लेते हैं, जबकि अमेरिका में हिंदू धर्म तो पौराणिक काल से है और उसके सारे साक्ष्य मिलते हैं। मेरा इतना ही आप सबसे विनती है कि हम सब मिलकर उस साझे इतिहास के लिए काम करें। ये मानव को जोड़ेगा। मैं अब्राहमिकों की तरह तोड़ने की बिल्कुल बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं जोड़ने की बात कर रहा हूं। इतना ही कह के मैं अपना उद्बोधन समाप्त करता हूं।